Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on PoliWine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. And there is a lot to get into because every time we start to record, something else just comes in. So let's get right into it. The Diddy trial. Well, we have been on verdict watch, and during the deliberation yesterday, the jury came to the judge and said, look, we've come to a unanimous decision on some of the charges, but we still have questions about the racketeering. Well, they had more time. They went back to deliberation, and today the verdict is in. Yes. Well, on the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, acquitted. Not guilty. Not guilty. He was found guilty on 2 prostitution charges, but on the serious charges, the major ones, sex trafficking, racketeering, not guilty, acquitted. 13 hours of deliberation, and the verdict is in. And now the jurors get to go home, spend time with their family, and enjoy the holiday weekend. I got to tell you, outside the courtroom, I was watching, it was a media frenzy. Here we go over to Idaho, and we go to the Idaho College murder. Brian Koberger's trial was set to start next month. In a last-minute turn, he changed his plea from not guilty to guilty on all charges. That's for the robbery and the 4 murders in the first degree. Today, he changed his plea, pled guilty in front of the judge, and he will be sentenced at another date. But I have to tell you, I was watching that in complete silence. You could hear a pin drop in my house. I hadn't seen a court scenario like that before. And you have to remember, this has gone on for a long time leading up to this trial. There have been delay after delay after delay. They had to change venues, and then more delays. Well, now, in a quick change of events, he decided to plead guilty in efforts to avoid the death penalty. And let me just remind you, in the state of Idaho, death penalty, they still use the firing squad. Okay? So in an effort to evade death penalty, he pled guilty. I feel for the families. From what I have been reading and hearing in the news circles, the emotions from the families of the 4 victims have been all over the place. From what I have heard, some are happy just to speed along and for this man to serve time and justice to be served for the victims, their children. I have heard that others were pissed. They were absolutely irate about the fact that he's not going to go to trial. He's not going to face the death penalty. I have also heard that some other family members were, if you are going to plead guilty, you must confess, and you must also tell us where the murder weapon is. And today, in court, he confessed, and that it was very straight and to the point in court today. The judge was like, I just want to make sure you are aware of the consequences of what could happen following this change in plea deal, from not guilty to guilty. The judge asked a whole list of questions. Did you take anything today? Did you take any alcohol or drugs or any medication that could alter your judgment? So are you changing your plea to guilty because you are guilty? He said yes. Are you guilty of, entering the home with the intent to murder? Yes. Do you plead guilty to the murder of each individual? And he went through the 4 victims' names, and he said yes. It was just shocking, and you couldn't. And the judge just kept really clarifying everything. You are aware of what this means. You are aware that you are changing it. You are aware of the consequences with this decision and this plea of guilty. You cannot appeal. You will not go in front of a jury. And, the judge is like, I'm very limited to what I can do when somebody changes a plea. So, I mean, it was just such a fascinating thing to watch. I feel so I feel so sorry for the victim's family. They were escorted in for protection and escorted out. It had to be just so emotional for them. The day of the sentencing, families will be able to give impact statements, and the judge asked, are we going to be able to get that all in one day during the day of sentencing? The prosecution said, yes, I do believe that we will be able to get it all in, but we do have quite a number of people that do wish to speak. So we want to make sure we honor them and give them enough time to be respectful for that. But we do believe that we will be able to get it all in one day. So sentencing will be at another day, but death penalty is off the table. And wow, out of 2 years of saying not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, we believe our client is innocent. Well, quick change and guilty, guilty, guilty. He changed his plea to guilty on all charges. But to hear him saying, you plead guilty on entering a home of robbery with the intent of murder? Yes. You're just like, wow. Wow. We still have no idea why. What is the intent, the motive behind this? Maybe one day he'll give an interview. This story, this trial has really caught the attention and has been pulling on the heartstrings of the entire nation, because the heinousness and the utter brutality of what happened to these victims. They were attacked in their sleep for no reason. And it's just, while they're at school where it's supposed to be the best time of their life, they are so young and they want to see justice done for these beautiful, innocent victims. That asshole finally guilty, guilty, guilty. But, I want to know if he wants to give an interview. We need to know why. Why? This man was a criminal justice student. Ew. Because, and didn't he write a paper on, he wrote some type of paper years ago on evidence that I was reading. I don't know how 100% accurate that is, but God, what a case. The date will be set for sentencing for the Idaho murder cases. Impact statements will be given on that day, but we will find out at a later time when that day will be. But wow, the Diddy case, boom. We will find out when his sentencing date will be. We'll find out the sentencing date on on Brian Koberger. Wow. Big cases there. And other big stories. If you move over into the world of politics, well, we've got the big, beautiful bill. Just passed the Senate and a record move, 51-50 vote. Boy, I tell you, VP Vance, if he didn't enter that floor like he was entering the Thunderdome as a rock star, and boom, with his vote, he passed it through. Now the House it's on the floor and they're debating it, and it moves to the House. If it actually passes through the House, well, he's not only happy about that passing through the Senate, he's also taking a major victory lap and a couple other major things. There's some ceasefire in the Middle East, and he's happy about that and everything that's been going on that he's kind of pushing through in the Middle East. He's pretty pleased with that outcome for now. Now, he's also pretty pleased with some court rulings that have worked out in his favor. That's a big victory for him as well. And he's also just took a tour of the alligator Alcatraz. Did you see that in the Everglades? Wow. Some people are really praising that. I can tell you in the last week and a half, Trump is definitely feeling the momentum. Now there's some pushback on the bill. We did have 3 Republicans break from their party and I feel was an unusual fashion. You had Tillis of North Carolina, you have Rand Paul of Kentucky, and Susan Collins of Maine. Whoa. Susan Collins, I was shocked you actually broke out. You usually say, I disagree, and you usually, at the end, fall right in line with the party. So the fact that you kind of dissented and broke away, I was shocked by that, and I'm glad you did. You had a voice of your own. What really made those 3 not fall in line with the party is where it's going to affect Medicaid. So if you like your Medicaid, and if you know that it's could affect you, your family member, somebody you know or love, and you are concerned, reach out, call your representative immediately, state your case, say, I want my Medicaid, I want this, I want that. You can say what you want about Trump, but he said he wanted to get it done, and he's getting these things pushed through in a very expeditious fashion. So there you go. It's happening. It's happening. And speaking of fashion, did you hear that Anna Wintour, the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine, is stepping down? This woman has been through decades of fashion. She has been through the 80s and 90s heyday. She's been through the Cindy Crawfords, the Claudia Schifferds, the Naomi Campbells of her day. She has been through it all. And not only that, she was the inspiration of probably one of the greatest characters Meryl Streep has ever played, and that was the character in The Devil Wears Prada. Amazing, amazing. So she's still going to be involved in she's still going to be involved. She's just stepping down as editor-in-chief. It's the end of an era, and she has rode the waves of fashion change. She is handled the rocky waters of, I don't know what you want to call some of the stuff that happened in the late 80s and the transition of fashion in the 90s and the new millennia that stepped into 2000s. She's rode those waves and sailed high. And speaking of waves, oh my God, did you hear about that incident on the Disney cruise ship this past weekend? Oh my God, this 5-year-old girl fell off the 4th floor deck. Oh my God, of a Disney cruise, which is unbelievable. Oh my God. And the dad immediately jumped in and rescued her off the 4th deck, That is really high. Now, it is a miracle that they just survived a fall from that height. It is a miracle. But Dad, oh my God, Dad, you were going to get the Dad of the Year award. From what I was reading, the parents were right there, and the kid just was being a kid, just boop, went right over. I don't know if she was climbing on the railings and fell right over, but she fell a parent's nightmare, and the dad immediately jumped in. Dad, bravo to you. An amazing rescue. Worst case scenario, parents' worst nightmare as somebody who's been on a cruise ship with small kids. As everybody told me, I was overly paranoid. I'm like, why are these not sealed off? Why are these exposed railings up this high? When people are just small children, people heavily drinking. I'm like, why is this wall not up here? I don't understand why the balconies, the ledges are so low. I don't understand why they're higher. I always found that to be dangerous. And that was, everybody said on the cruise when I was with my small kids, you're being dramatic. They're high enough. Those railings are high enough. I'm like, not for a kid to climb. I think that's quite easy. I hope some changes will be made on the cruise ships. This is a Disney cruise ship. These are for kids and families. But I think that is a major design flaw. But the miraculous story is that the child is okay. I'm sure traumatized and may fear water and cruise ships the rest of her life, but the child is fine. The dad is fine. The reports from everybody on the cruise ship is that the crew loved any action, immediately deployed a rescue boat, a tender, rough waters from what I understand, and just immediately were able to, well, within 20 minutes, get to the dad who was treading water with the child. Amazing story. The elements, they had to be cold water, rocky, choppy water. God knows what was in the water with you. I mean, they're on the way to Florida. I heard that the crew executed the rescue plan perfectly, flawlessly. Well done to them, but just a nightmare scenario. Way to have a beautiful holiday with your family in an instant just turn into a nightmare scenario. But oh my God. And just, I mean, anything can happen with small kids. You turn your head for 1 second and they're gone. They're gone. You could just be like, oh, look at that. Gone. Gone. So let's not judge the parents. Just feel for them. I mean, that dad jumped. How many stories is that, by the way, to jump in the water? But the fact that they're okay is a miracle in itself. What a nightmare cruise experience. And also, if you want to talk about another nightmare cruise experience, Netflix just released a documentary called The Poop Cruise. Now, did you hear about this? In 2013, the Carnival cruise ship Triumph set out from Texas to go on a several-day cruise. And I think it was day 2 in their cruise. Well, there was a fire that broke out and knocked out all power to this ship. And it was basically just a dead floating island in the water. What a scary, scary scenario, just to be floating there, helpless. God forbid a rogue wave, bad weather, whatever it may be, could happen to you. You're just vulnerable and just sitting there helpless. They did have a tugboat come to help them. Unfortunately, when the tug was pulling them, the cruise ship was just tilting to the side. It became a little bit unsafe. So they had to totally abort the tugboat situation. So there they were, stuck for several days, no power, no running water, no flushing toilets. You see where I'm getting. And the passengers were asked, because they couldn't flush toilet, they couldn't get rid of it, to please defecate into a bag. Well, they didn't, because of course the cruise ship wanted to, since you didn't have running water, you couldn't flush the waste out. They wanted to put it in bags and dispose of it that way. Well, people did not like that idea, and they weren't having it, and they were going about their normal business. And several days into no running water, no flushing toilet, well, things start backing up. And not only were the toilets backing up and leaking into the hallways, oh yes, then they hit rough water and everything's tilting back and forth, and overflowing toilets and showers start shifting, and so does the water, and it just starts going everywhere. It sounds like a biohazard mess. There was a bachelorette party going on, and to hear these women on the bachelorette party, their stories were just disgusting, but definitely entertaining. To hear the one chef, his description was, he stole the show. He was definitely the number one person I watched. I enjoyed being interviewed. His descriptions were gross, detailed, and funny. The captain, or I think she was one of the captains of the ship, what the crew had to deal with, what the passengers had to deal with, awful, awful. And having several days added onto their cruise because they could not get back, right? They couldn't get tugged. They had to wait. There was a cruise ship that came by and basically gave them some supplies, but they couldn't take 4,000 new passengers on. dangerous situation for them and everybody else. But hearing the people on this doomed cruise ship saying, yes, we watched another cruise ship pull up next to us, and people were taking pictures of us. We were their detour and essentially like their exhibit on their cruise ship. Yeah, you were. And crazy. That had to be awful watching that cruise ship as these people are partying, having drinks, clean showers, waving at you as you're miserable and basically walking around in raw sewage. Awful. So, if you've ever had a bad experience on a cruise and you want to feel their misery, or you just like nightmare scenarios, watch Poop Cruise on Netflix. And here's an interesting fact. Not only did that destruction happen with the fire on that cruise ship, yeah, they repaired that ship, which was called the cruise ship, Carnival Cruise Ship Triumph, and it was now renamed Sunrise. So it is now the Carnival Cruise Ship Sunrise. Yes. Yes. If you were on the Sunrise, that was once the Triumph that caught on fire. That was the Poop Cruise. You're on it if you're on the Sunrise. So gross. Sometimes you have good experience. Sometimes you had a bad experience. I've had several cruises in my days. I've always had wonderful experiences. But yeah, anytime I'm always talking about my 2 nightmare scenarios, it's dangers of people falling over. Happened on the Disney cruise, and that happens all the time on other cruise ships too. And toilets not working, power going out, happened on the poop cruise. It happens. So read your tickets, everyone, because the attorney for the people on the cruise that were the passengers on that doomed cruise on Triumph, when we had all these people take a litigation against the cruise line, they're like, yeah, don't you know that when you bought your cruise ticket, that's your waiver. You don't have to be on a safe boat. We are not responsible for your safety. You don't necessarily need to be supplied food. And it was just the line. You got to hear what this attorney said. He was like, if people knew that when they bought that ticket, they would have never bought the ticket. So this is what the cruise line was saying, why they shouldn't have to reimburse people for this horrific experience. So read the fine lines, read the tickets, read the disclaimers, and read the rules when you buy your tickets, not only for cruise lines, but for any travel. Lesson learned and lesson to the wise. Please read the fine print on your tickets, on your waivers, all of that. Read the fine print. And now as we worked our way and talking about TV and docu-series, well, let's work our way over to reality TV. Yes? Okay. I haven't watched it yet. No spoiler alerts today, but we have the finale of 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu. We will talk about the finale next episode because I want to watch it. I want to get into it. I want to hear your thoughts. What happens to Masha? Is she just disgraced? Don't know. What about everybody else? The people that are at the hotel taking drugs, thinking that they're getting better in this deep therapy and realize that they just been scammed through all of it. What is going to happen? So, it's the finale, 9 Perfect Strangers. We're going to talk about that next time. So, but let's get into the finale of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And let me tell you, we found out, Portia's back in her house, guys. Portia can film back in her house. Phaedra is back. Frickin' frack. Happy together again. Hopefully they stay that way. But it was nice to see Phaedra. Phaedra cracks me up. And again, her boys are so cute. Drew's been coasting this season, and I'm okay with it. She tried to get involved with this whole scenario with Marcus and Angela. And we're going to get a little bit into that. She was really trying to stir the pot. That kind of fell. That didn't really work out so well. Britt, not having it and didn't even show up to the reunion. Bye, Britt. You didn't really bring much to this season anyway. But Angela, let me get to Angela. And I'm just going to say again, Cynthia, I'm happy you're back. It's good to have you back, old friend. And she's just been like, she's kind of like the auntie. and everybody. She's there. She says a few things. She always gives a good look right in front of her lake house windows. I love it. Cynthia, it's good to have you back. But Angela and Mr. Charles Oakley, I have loved you, Angela, this season. And this was your moment. You have been building up for this crescendo at the finale, and it fell with a major flat note. It did. It did. We wanted to know what happened with Marcus. Did he know something? What does he know? And you got back in touch with Marcus after he was thrown out of the Williams and Sonoma event. Well, you met up with Marcus, you talked it out, you found out who his source was, where he got the information, and the confrontation is supposed to happen. Everybody's together at this charity event. It's always why does stuff always have to go down at a charity event? We're there for good. Why does there have to be all this negativity? Never really understood that, but an event's an event, and you gotta end a season finale on an event. So here we are. We're at the charity event, and Angela is about to reveal who brought Marcus to the event and who it was. Who was the puppet master? Marcus comes out, and first of all, Marcus is walking over with Angela, because you've got Drew, your man is here. Angela's, bring him out. And here comes Marcus and Charles Oakley. No! Oh, no. Who's that? Get him out of here. Throw this man out. You're being disrespectful to my wife. You're throwing my name around. No. He's getting heated. He's getting pissed. The women and the cast are just watching this and just loving every second of it. They're like, Charles don't play. When Charles was in the NBA, everybody said, going, his name was the enforcer, and everybody's doing a little video cameo about that. His name was the enforcer, and he's not going to play. He is not going to have any of that. And Charles is going to get him out of here. And Angela's yelling back, Charles, he's going to name. What did Charles say? I'm cops. He's got the cops, something to that effect. And I was laughing. Charles, Angela wanted her moment, and bring it, Angela. Give it to me. This is your moment. You've had a great season 1. They're trying to go after your marriage, your husband. What are you going to get me? Who is it? Who is the source? Who is it? Here comes Marcus. Who is it, Marcus? It's Phaedra. Phaedra goes, what? Me? And everyone's like, Phaedra? And Marcus is like, yes, it was Phaedra. Phaedra's the godmother of Atlanta. Everyone knows it. Somebody gave me an envelope with all this information. Well, who gave you that? Junebug. And everybody starts laughing. Junebug. And then Cynthia says, well, honey, that could be anybody's member of the family. We all got a Junebug up around here, which was hilarious. But it just fell flat. It felt so bad. It felt so made up. Now, let's remember, Phaedra was a traitor on the show Traitors. She went very far. She lied her way to the end. She was magnificent. It was a beautiful, slow, methodical game that she played, and she played the long game well. So we know little Miss Phaedra can be a little scrupulous, and she has had some scandals in the past. But this made no sense to me. When Angela was saying, well, Kelly, Charles and I both found it unusual that this guy showed up at your event and you did a toast with him, and then you kicked him out. That seemed a little suspicious. It did. But you didn't name Kelly. You named Phaedra, and everybody was like, Phaedra? And then Phaedra was on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen afterwards. And Andrew's like, okay, break this down. Why were you? And she's like, I have no idea. I don't know this man. I have no reason to get in between their marriage. I don't know Angela. This makes no sense. Junebug is still a mystery to me. She was like, this is the first big event that I did with the cast since I came back. And why would I rock the boat? I just came back on. Why would I ruin that? And Andy was like, yeah, you were benched from the show for a while. So it kind of doesn't really hit to me why you would do something like that. And so late in the season, I don't know, made no sense to me, but we'll find out. And the 3-part reunion, I don't know how you're going to get 3 parts out of this reunion. Not that much happened this season, but 3-part reunion coming out next week. So Atlanta, you had some controversy. Kendra's out. Will she be coming back? I sure hope so. Britt is out, gone. Can we please bring Kenya back? Bring Kenya back. It's good to have Phaedra back. It's good to have Cynthia back. We need to keep these ladies. Now, the Valley, it's coming towards the end of the season, and the Valley's been a great season. You still got Jesse and Michelle fighting. Janet is a total asshole, and more of it comes out every episode. And her husband, Justin, kind of feel bad for that guy, but he's all in, so you can't feel that bad for him. Kristen, yay, and Luke, or Van Gogh, as everybody online's calling him, they got engaged this episode. It was so cute, so sweet. Crazy Kristen, who knew, who had the most normal relationship out of everyone. Congratulations, Kristen. You got engaged. You're going to get married. And she just had a baby. Yay. You got Nia and her husband, and they were a part of it. Super cute part of the engagement ceremony. Jasmine and her girlfriend, they're really cute. I'm enjoying them. And the few comments she dropped, she's always entertaining for sure. I adore Zach and all of his helmet Lego hair. I love it. That man's got a lush head of hair. Don't knock it. I love it. But Janet still comes off the victim, even with all the joy that everybody was so thrilled that with Kristen getting engaged. Brittany was a little bummed that she wasn't a part. She's like, I love Kristen. She's one of my best friends, and I'm really hurt that I wasn't a part of it. I understand that. But she's like, look, but at the end of the day, I'm happy for Kristen. And maybe they didn't want to kind of bring that to you because you're dealing with so much stuff with Jack. So, people are just starting off in the joys of a wedding and a marriage where you're at the worst part of a marriage ending. You got Jax, and then you have him this whole episode. I've been out for days and I finally get to spend time with my son. Well, that's on you, Jax. That's on you. You've had days. We saw you get your Botox. We saw you have your hair done, and you missed that opportunity to spend quality time with your son. But it is nice with you now. And that scene where he was kissing his son in the pool, well, or a little peck on the cheek from, the dad, sweet moment. But the only thing I could ever think of, and I think it was Tom Sandoval years ago, was saying how bad Jax's breath was. And I'm like, turn your head, little boy, turn your head. But yeah, still a piece of shit, that guy. But the Valley has been a great season, I think. I have been very pleased with season 2 of the Valley. Season 1 was pretty good. But congratulations, Kristen. Congratulations, Kristen. Van Gogh, congratulations on your baby that you just had. And also congratulations to Nia and Danny. They just had a baby too. Number 4. And they actually filmed the reunion a little bit early this season because of the due dates for both Kristen and Nia. So they did that a little bit earlier, but now we have 2 babies in the world. So congratulations to those families. But when I just kept thinking, when Jesse was talking to Michelle's new boyfriend, Aaron, boy, that guy's got some intense eyes. Intense. So when I was thinking about Real Houses of Miami, when Larsa was talking about Jody's eyes, he was giving me the crazy eyes. His eyes were crazy. It's like, okay, he does have a little bit of crazy eyes. He's got those really popping eyes all the time. But that guy, Aaron in the Valley, Michelle's new boyfriend, like that guy's got some creepy eyes, in my opinion. Creepy eyes, so intense. Like, I mean, huge stare eyes. Just really unsettling. That trip to Hawaii, good trip. Congratulations. Season 2, great season. But speaking of season 2, going to another show on season 2 that I stumbled across, had no idea about, and yeah, okay, you got me. And that is the McBee Dynasty. I saw it on Bravo following the Valley. I was up late doing stuff and just had it on the background. And this show comes on and it kind of got my attention. And it's got a little bit of everything to make it kind of the right recipe for a good show. Family drama, family business, always good. That's a perfect pairing. Then you have possibility of fraud or scam. The dad who is, come to find out, been under investigation with the FBI. He stepped away, but he left his, he split from his wife, who he built this huge farming dynasty with, left her, started dating this Russian chick, left her for a younger Russian chick that was her friends. And now she's going major loco, like full Tiger Woods ex-wife style. Yes, like loco. By the way, still support her on that one, Tiger Woods' ex-wife. Yeah, she goes full on cuckoo like that. So yeah, then you have crazy ex-Russian drama. Check. That's another one. FBI is involved. Check. Babies are being born by young kids. Check. I mean, I had no idea about season 1. I only caught episode 1 of season 2, and I was like, oh, I think we have something here. You got me on another show. Bravo, you did it to me again. And not only that, as the Valley's coming to a close and Atlanta's just closing up, now we have the reunion. We have the Real Housewives of Orange County. It's getting a new season. It's getting ready to come out. We also have the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. The cast of The Traitors, the new season of The Traitors has been released. There has been rumblings of maybe who is on the new season of Love Hotel. We have so much more to talk about, but we're going to have to get into that on the next episode. So that is us. That is it for us today on PoliWine. Thank you so much for joining us. Please follow us on Instagram at PoliWineTime, and please follow, like, and subscribe to PoliWine wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for joining us today, and have a great day. See you soon. Bye.